MSNBC political director Chuck Todd has what we're calling the Smart Viewer's Guide to watching tonight's Super Tuesday coverage. It's a tough challenge, Chuck, to explain what's going to happen in 24 states tonight, but go for it.
Well, let's start with this Mike Huckabee-John McCain alliance, because, you know, yesterday we identified 5 states where we thought Mike Huckabee could tip the balance and help John McCain. And in fact, I did some math here. In these 5 states, we're looking at 168 delegates minimum that Mike Huckabee may cost Mitt Romney by just overperforming in these states, pulling that evangelical vote. But what happened earlier today? Well, we found out of this West Virginia convention where we saw the McCain-Huckabee alliance at work. This is another 18 delegates that Romney thought were in the bank. They did not think they were going to lose this thing. They were the only ones organizing for it. And yet McCain showed that they are a lot more organized in this thing than they realize, and that this McCain-Huckabee alliance is very real, and now we're going to see it probably pop up in a lot of these states. Missouri is very important because it's a winner-take-all, and Chris, John McCain may only get 37, 38%, and that's a winning number in a 3-way race, and that's winner-take-all, 50-plus delegates there. These other 4 states are going to be proportional, but just Huckabee's proportion, you know, you get a bonus for winning the state. Huckabee's proportion is going to be taking all away from Romney, and like I said, costing him 160 delegates minimum. And we're already seeing that, you know, Mike Huckabee is going to be expecting more than just a really good speaking slot at the Republican convention.
So we're looking at those states, Tennessee and Georgia, Oklahoma, Alabama. How many of those states could Huckabee actually win? Not just deny them to Romney, but actually take them away from both other candidates.
Well, it's interesting. I think that you got to take a look at Georgia and Alabama, and you got to. And we've seen polls where in Missouri he's out polling Romney. So these are 3 states he could win. He obviously feels good about Arkansas, and that's his home state. He should do there. But he may end up winning. You know, he's already technically won West Virginia. He could add a couple more states tonight, and why doesn't he go on? And frankly, if Romney wins in a couple places, let's say he wins California and feels like he can move on, then McCain wants Huckabee to stay in this race. And so obviously if Huckabee wins a couple states, he will. We should take a look at the McCain states here. And this is what makes McCain an overwhelming favorite tonight to be the guy with the big delegate lead. And here's why. Every one of his base states, Chris, are winner-take-all. Arizona, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, and my dot's going to cover it all up, and Connecticut. All 5 of those, this is almost 300 delegates that he's going to put in the bank. He could win by a vote or win by 10 votes. I mean, he's going to win in some of these places by a lot. And that's where he starts. Now you throw in those other states I was talking about, winner-take-all Missouri. He's going to get proportional, about a third of what's in those southern states, never mind California. And we already have him somewhere 600, 700 delegates tonight. That's just 300 or 400 short. He could officially end up the nominee, have enough delegates by the end of this month.
So tonight, if we look ahead in terms of indications, we could have a McCain wipeout where he denies Romney any states beyond, say, Massachusetts.
Right.
We could have a situation where Romney does nothing at all, even not just because he does badly, but because Huckabee grabs 3 or 4 states as well.
That's right, and then don't forget the clock tonight. The clock really favors McCain, right? We're going to have, you know, it's very likely there are early calls right here in those early northeastern states. They close at 8 or 9 o'clock. In prime time, McCain's going to look like a big winner. A lot of states are going to pop up that are his. It may not be, we may not find out that Mitt Romney has some mojo, but we might find out until 2 o'clock Eastern time in the morning when California numbers finally come in. There's a lot of private polling I've been hearing about, whispers. Romney's polling very well there. In fact, I'll tell you, John McCain may regret that he has spent so much time in Massachusetts toying with this idea of beating Romney there and sort of putting a nail in Romney's political coffin, and maybe he should have spent a little more time in California. We'll see if they regret that.
Where he went this morning. Let's talk Democrats right now. It's far more alive, I think, fair to say. What are you looking for early in the evening? I've been looking at New Jersey thinking there's a state that, although Obama's been behind, he's moving.
Right. And
if he catches her there, it says he's catched her in a lot of places.
Well, it's interesting. You know, the Clinton campaign themselves brought up a couple of their base states today as indications that, you know, if Obama doesn't do well here, that's good for Clinton. You're like, wait a minute, you guys were always supposed to do well here, and that was Massachusetts and New Jersey. These are poll closing times that happen at 8 o'clock, and I think you're right. If we're in the too close to call business at 8 o'clock in these states, rather than feeling comfortable calling these things for Hillary Clinton, that is going to tell us something. I think what happened nationally. Was it a bigger night than we realized? And then, of course, the other thing that I'm going to be fascinated about is what is Clinton's margin of victory in New York. It's very likely tonight, Chris, that Obama could get more delegates than Clinton, but lose more states. Why? Because the margin that he loses New York by may be much narrower than the margin, for instance, that he beats her by in Illinois. And the difference in delegates that he gets out of it, then what he nets, he may get a 55-45 delegate split out of New York if he really does well, and yet he may have a 65-35 delegate split out of Illinois, and that net, that's a big deal, particularly if the big enchilada tonight ends up being as close as a lot of people expect.
Who's going to win the war for California? It seems like the Clintons know that if they lose out there, they're in deep trouble. It seems to me they're trying to spin it that if they don't lose California, they've had a triumph for the night. Is that the spin they can succeed with?
Well, I think it's more than just California. I moved to our toss-up states here for a minute so we can see them. We've got, I think, 4 states that together, if one candidate wins 3 of the 4, they're going to say we won the night. That's California, Arizona, Missouri, and Connecticut. All 4 have been very close. All 4 have those 2 different electorates, right? The Schlitz crowd versus the Chablis crowd. Throw in the African-American vote, that's helped boost up some of Obama's numbers. Throw in the women vote, that's coming out in bigger numbers, and that's helped Clinton. But that's basically been the divide inside this Democratic Party, frankly, for presidential primaries for the last 20 years. Well, these 4 states, if one of them gets 3 of the 4, and obviously California being the biggest of that prize just rhetorically, that's a big deal. And it is interesting to me that the Clinton campaign absolutely now is saying, hey, if we win by a vote in California, we've won something tonight. I think they're very nervous about California, Chris.
I think they do win if they win in California, though. It seems to me that maybe that is the one that is going to decide tomorrow's big news story. Anyway, thank you very much. Chuck Todd will be with you all night. You're our man.